Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Mecha Break video. Today we're going to be talking about the two new strikers that will be coming to the game on July 1st. The two new strikers are Stellaris and Serenith. But overall, these two kits look really nice. So let's go over our first striker, which is a light melee assassin, Stellaris. As the first up, Stellaris is a light melee striker built for disruption and just straight up deleting other strikers. Both his triggers are close range melee strikes, and his right click sends out a shockwave, potentially shocking your enemies or stunning your enemies. Next, you have his first ability where it gets a little spicy. He has a palm blaster that can hit from range, but he also has a grappling hook that he can use to grapple to a target. Now, what's really interesting about the grapple is there are already a good quick way to get to a lot of targets. If you are a melee striker, each melee has a quick way to get further through the map by using the melee lunge to get to a location quicker. Now, if you don't know how to do this ability, it is hold your normal attack and you would do a dash. By long pressing for that dash will move you in the trajectory where you are aiming and get you there a lot quicker. You will be burning a lot more energy, but this is a fast way to get to a target. Now you have that as a way to move around, but you're also going to be able to have his first ability to use a grapple hook to pull yourself to an enemy. Now his second ability is his camo, where he can go invisible and you can cancel his invisibility so that you can regen your energy a little bit quicker and have a little faster cooldown. While you're cloak, you're also able to start regenning your energy as well. But you have to be very careful as this striker, because as you are invisible, if one of your teammates decides to give you a drone or a Panaka shield, that will give away your position. So keep that in mind when you are using this striker. If your teammates are helping you out, they might be giving away your position if you are camo. So you want to make sure you are careful about using your camo. You don't want to have a good advantage point just to be taken away because of a drone or support. So you might want to learn how to communicate with your teammates, which sometimes it's difficult and people don't want to communicate, or just be off on your own. That is a really good tip to know so that you're not giving away your advantage point. His third ability is blade drones. You can lock up to 3 targets. When they land, not only do they do damage, but they also disorient the enemy's whole UI system. Their whole HUD is distorted, which will be really great when you're in mid-fight and they're trying to target you. You could use that to disrupt them, to get away if you need to. We don't know the full extent of how much is going to just distort. Is it just the HUD, or is it more? Is it actual abilities too? Don't know fully what it's going to be until we actually have some more better gameplay. But that ability to be able to disorient is pretty awesome. Now, because he is a light melee striker, he does have a lot less HP. On top of that, because he's a light melee striker, it also allows him to be airborne a lot longer, move a lot faster, have a little bit more energy. And when you're combating, because you're a melee target, you do have your parry like any other melee target has when you are doing melee versus melee. And if you are able to land the parry correctly, you do have a counter attack you can do really quickly to do some quick damage right away. What's really cool is his right melee seems to give out a slash wave that can travel for some distances. I am curious to see how good it is at chasing down low level health targets, and how good the tracking will be for that as well. Curious to see how that will overall hold up. He's going to be the best at picking off a lot of the squishy supports, also really good at getting rid of possibly Falcon and other light strikers. Could also be good at disrupting your enemy's line, making them focus on you, go invisible, dodge, get away, and then keep nagging at your enemies. But again, very, very important. While you're behind enemy lines, if your teammates give you any sort of help, a drone like Panaka or shield, you just have to be careful because it will give your location away. I just want to make sure we emphasize that. Stellaris is overall super cool with the dual blade. He's going to be one that I really want to think about trying to get and play a lot more often. I wasn't thinking I would be a Falcon fan, but the more and more I played with Falcon, the more I enjoyed Falcon. And now I'm curious to see what this melee striker can do. I am a huge fan of seeing dual blades on a character, seeing how fast Stellaris can move around, flank, and do some fast takedowns. Not only having two ways to get to a target quickly, you have the grapple hook or the melee dash. He can be really annoying. He could be a menace behind enemy lines. He's almost like Genji, but with a grappling hook. All right, the next striker we're going to be looking at is Serenith. So let's take a look at that. All right, next we have Serenith. Now, as a support DPS, this striker is very unique. The right click of Serenith can call orbital strikes down. That is great for not only shredding shields, but also HP. You can use the orbital strike laser free aim, or you can lock onto a target. If you decide to do the free aim, those will be best for when you can tell when a target is going to be somewhere, and ahead of time, you can go ahead and lay that down. Like for an example, if you see a payload starting to get, you can see the trajectory of the payload, you can put it ahead of it and start doing damage before it gets there or around the corner. Now, you can activate the orbital strike right away, or you can charge and hold the orbital strike and allow it to do a lot more damage to it as well. But you have to be very careful, because if any teammates are nearby, they will definitely take damage as well. So, for those who are wondering, if you see an orbital strike and that's your teammate, get away as well. I can definitely see a lot more people being upset that their teammates killed them. Again, you can use the orbital strike as a good tactical way to focus specifically on heavier units like Tricera and Stego that tend to stay in one spot, really force them to take a lot of damage. And the damage that we saw on some of the gameplay was a good chunk. So I am curious to see if they're going to keep that damage or if they're going to nerf it. Now, Serenith left click is an energy autocannon that can be charged, or you can spam it however you want. Fast and clean or consistent poke damage if you wanted to, or one big chunk. One thing that they stress very important is you always are going to want to make sure all your weapons are reloaded. Because of the low ammo count of these weapons, you could catch yourself off guard and messing yourself up. So you want to make sure you are topped off. Now, the first ability for Serenith is a grapple hook. But now this grapple hook does a few things. The grapple hook, you can actually grapple to a target. It looks like you can also hack enemies as well. So think of almost like a Sombra, disabling them a little bit. When Serenith actually hacks the target, the enemy would actually start seeing the opposite, a friend to a foe and a foe to an enemy, confusing the actual user, not sure who to attack specifically. So this is a really good way to disrupt that person that maybe be nagging you a little bit, but also able to stop and disrupt a heavy defender or anyone that's on a payload. So this is a really good option for you when you're hacking, to be able to disorient your enemy. Now, going along with that mindset, the second ability will help with enemy lock-ons. It looks like some sort of radar disabling. So it disables anyone to target you specifically. Your enemies can't target you, but your teammates can. This is really good. I am curious to see how this will go against Aquila, because Aquila is like an aimbot when you use Aquila's ultimate. It most likely would allow you to not be hit by Aquila unless the Aquila striker is actually aiming down the sight and actually hitting you. Even with the ultimate, if this is correct, this is a really good character to to be able to counter that a little bit, to not be attacked by it, they have to actually put in some work. So using that ability is really cool. Now, the third ability I think is like crazy. I think it's like a cheat code. Like, there is literally wall hacks. Now, with the third ability, you could be behind a wall, use your ultimate, which is your third ability, and you can do damage to an enemy behind a wall. Now, they didn't really show it too much, how it actually looks when you use the third ability, but that third ability, you did see the striker taking damage while Serenith was behind the wall. So this can be very tricky. I'm curious to see what can come of this. What's the range of all of these abilities too? But just overall, just thinking about having wall hacks is insane. Now, last but not least, specifically on Serenith, one thing that was mentioned is on maps like payload, where you have to move the payload, you can actually use the grapple to pull the payload back from the enemy. So if there's no enemies there or nearby, they're not paying attention to you, you can actually be pulling that payload back, which is really cool. But you could also use that same grapple hook to actually pull your payload forward and not be technically on it. So that gives you some range, so you don't have to be directly on it taking damage. You can use the cart as almost like a shield and block some damage from the other side. But you can use that grapple to also pull the payload to get closer. So that is going to be really huge and might be a must pick for payload maps. The third ability can also enhance your range as well, allowing you to target further out. It also allows you during these storms that are happening out in the world where you won't be able to see at all. This will allow you to actually still lock onto your enemy because this has enhanced radar. So this will be able to see through the storm and still be able to attack. But on top of that, this is what's going to allow you to use your weapons even behind the walls to be targeted. So this third ability is really, really busted. And that is it, guys. Tell me, are you interested in any of these two strikers? I know I am. Stellaris looks insane. It might be a must pick for a lot of people. I know when you queue up, Tricera is always picked and Falcon is always picked. Now, Stellaris might be on that list too. I think overall, Stellaris looks really cool. I'm curious to see what they can do. Stellaris being high mobility melee disruptor, a light melee disruptor specifically. It looks really cool. The artillery support that Serenith can actually play and the potential that it can do, I'm curious to see what that can do as a support DPS. It looks like it could be like very powerful. Again, it's really tough to find sometimes. Normally you have melee weapons that can go eat right through shields and attack HP. But the fact that Serenith does damage with the orbital strike that can not only do HP damage, but also shield damage can be very, very helpful. Again, really cool support DPS. I would like to see more about the kit specifically and actually get my hands on this character. Let me know which one of these you're thinking about picking up. We will be playing Mecha BREAK when it does drop, so keep that in mind. Now, we will be making more Mecha BREAK videos, so if you guys are interested, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
You've been